Hi, my name is Tony Moy, and I'm a watercolorist and a comic book artist. Today, I wanted to discuss the creation of this Angel of Death watercolor. One of the first things I do to start a piece is decide upon the color palette. With this dynamic and powerful figure, I could easily create something dark and foreboding. But I decided to counterbalance instead with brighter, more vivid colors. I chose a triadic color palette using yellows, magentas, and cyan as a base. The warmer yellows were the foundation of my midtones, while cyan performed as the highlight, and the purples and violets, they played in the shadows. After tossing in a series of light washes, I randomly dot certain areas like the sword and armor with clean water and extra pigment to create some nice, organic, granulating textures. This will come into play later. I know that the face of the figure is a major focal point, so I render the face first to establish the base for the rest of my details. Once done, it will determine how much detail other areas should or should not have. The bust should have the most detail of this piece because it's the first area the viewer should stop and focus on. I already knew I was going to create some sort of pattern in the sword and shield. So after the previous granulating washes dry, these fun organic patterns and edges emerge. Really, as I render these designs, all I'm doing is simply looking for the patterns and accentuating the edges that are already there. Those patterns that form by letting your watercolors just be watercolors. Inherently, watercolors can be a bit chaotic and you can't always control every aspect of your brushstrokes. But sometimes if you listen to what the paints are doing on your paper, you can follow along and something beautiful and intricate you never really planned out can emerge. At this stage, I let my brush dance around the page a little bit and slowly make decisions and start separating the darker values of my painting from the lighter ones. I start looking for opportunities to create edges in areas that need separation. For instance, getting the shoulder armor to look like it's laying on top of the shoulder requires a nice dark edge that fades onto the shoulder. Areas like the jawbone and the hand gripping the hilt of the sword slowly comes into focus as more contrast is created between all the elements. The fragmented look of the shield was created with a small flat brush using M. Graham's Phthalocyanine blue and cobalt teal watercolor paints. The flat brush allows me to create crisp, straight edges and have less variance in creating straight edges and flat washes than with a round brush. Here, I'm trying to keep in mind the light source. Sometimes it helps not just identifying where the light is hitting, but rather what sections of the shield I want to protrude out from and recede into the paper. In the truly dark value areas, like in the eyes, I push some deep violets to connect them to the shadowed torso of the angel. As random and incidental as watercoloring can be, I like to create rules that I can stick to. Early on in this piece, I mentioned that the purples and violets get to play in the shadows. I continue following that rule as I add these cast shadows within the fabric. If you create these rules like these for your pieces, you'll find it easier to make decisions and create a more cohesive final product as you start getting closer to the finish line. Even here, as I work into the wings of the angel, I use a pale beige yellow for the midtones and let a variety of random magentas and purples and pinks play in the shadows that the feathers cast on each other. As I start to see the finish line, my brush just starts to dance around the page again, adding additional washes to push back values, increasing saturation, and sometimes just to randomly add some other colors on a whim. Just because I started with an initial idea of palette of colors of yellows and cyans and violets doesn't mean I can't toss in some pale greens and deep reds throughout. Sometimes I feel like I just let my brush flitter about my page endlessly. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to support this channel, please click that like and subscribe button below or visit me on my Patreon for more details. Remember, you can also chat and watch me paint live on my Twitch stream as well. If you'd like to own a print of this piece, it's available in my online store. All those links are down below. Take care. See you next time. Keep painting.